Hello, and welcome to We Journeyed Together, a one-shot tabletop role-playing game built to be played online from the ground up. Today, we will be learning the encounter system. To begin, the host of the game will need to open the journey map. Inside the tier that they select, there will be a menu to see previously visited locations and to select a new one. First, you must choose who will be the main player for the next location and encounter. You must choose someone who has not been the main player yet during this tier. In other words, you must choose a player who does not have the exhausted condition checked. Use the main player dropdown to select which player will be the main player, and then click the button for that player's preferred location. Make note of the biome and the theme for that encounter or location, because the main player may or may not get bonuses to their aspect checks if they have a match or not for their proficiencies. We can see that because I am proficient in biodiverse locations, I will get a +1 bonus for aspect checks in the biodiverse plane. Once the main player is selected, a different player should be chosen as the narrator. The narrator will be like a temporary game master in that they will describe the consequences and benefits to the main player's choice of action. Once you select it, a random encounter will replace the journey map on the screen. There are a few things to note about each encounter. Here you see the name of the encounter and its flavor description. The description doesn't have to be followed to the letter, it's more there for inspiration and guidance. Under the description, we have the number of successes necessary to succeed. If the main player makes an aspect check that is a success, click the plus button. Once they have acquired all of the successes necessary, you may click the success button at the bottom. If the player runs out of aspect check uses before hitting the minimum number of successes they need to win, then click the failure button instead. Below the success counts, we see the challenge level table. This dictates what number on the D8, plus or minus modifiers, that you need to get to acquire a success with a particular aspect check. This means that some aspects may be more useful in some encounters than others. Finally, we have the reward combinations. If you succeed in using the listed number of each type of aspect in your successes, you may give yourself an additional experience at the end of the encounter, indicated by the reward value. These are the data fields of the encounter that you will see. However, to resolve an encounter, the player must first roll an action hand. They can do this by rolling 5d8 with physical dice, and then using the roll 1d8 text box to roll manually. Or they can roll all 5 by clicking the roll 1d8 button 5 times. Or they can click the roll action hand button. It's entirely up to preference. Once you have generated your action hand, inspect the active aspect abilities to see which ones are active. Make sure to inspect each one to make sure no further actions are required. For example, renewed and inspired aspect both generate more aspect uses before the encounter starts, so be sure to check. At this point, the narrator will use the prompt for the encounter to describe a scene and present the challenge that the main player needs to overcome. The player will then formulate a plan based on their aspect uses, which are these yellow buttons, and then they will describe what they tried to do. Once they are done describing, they will click the button to roll it. Then they will add all relevant modifiers such as empowered aspect, wounds, or proficiencies, and compare that to the challenge level of the encounter's corresponding aspect. Each empowered aspect active provides a +1. Each weakened aspect provides a -1. Each proficiency active provides a bonus equal to its value, and if wounds are present, they will provide their own penalty of -1 if you have 1 wound in the aspect, -2 if you have 2 wounds in the aspect, or -2 as well if you have 3 wounds in the aspect. For example, if I want to make an investigation or analysis check, we would see that I gain a +1 from Empowered aspect, as well as my proficiency in Career, for a total of +2. I can click the yellow button, and we see that I got a 1 plus 2 would be 3. Unfortunately, that is very low. However, the challenge level was 3, so I just managed to make it. If I had wanted to make an aggression and coordination aspect check, if I were perhaps running from something trying to catch me, I could say that I'll try and climb a tree for some high ground. I would then try to roll for it, and if I beat the challenge level, then I succeeded. If I don't, then I failed. There's no penalty to failed checks outside of narrative description, besides that you have lost a chance to gain a success for the encounter. Once you're finished with the encounter, you can click the Clear Hand button. Congratulations, you've completed your first encounter. In the next video, we will talk about post-encounter scenes.